Om Namo Narayana, Om Namah Shivaya, Shiva Om, Shiva Om. Welcome to another satsang with your host, Chuck the Yogi. Let us move on. I believe we were at 1.21. Divara Samveganam Asana. The supreme ecstasy is near to him who is extremely vehement in his practice of yoga. The more you give, the more you receive. So, yoga will give to you what you give to yoga. It's a simple equation. And he elaborates that a little bit further. 1.22. Mridu Madhya Adima Tratvat Tatopi Isheshaha. Because this vehemence can be modest, medium, or excessive, there is hence also a difference in the proximity of the yogins to the superior ecstasy. So, the majority of yogis may do the bare minimum to get by. There'll be some that will be more vehement, work hard throughout their lives or many lifetimes to achieve the states of consciousness that yoga promises. And then there will be the few that go through extreme practices or penances in order to achieve in a faster way those achievements. And when I mean severe, I mean severe. I mean, there's yogis that stand up for 12 years, aided by a swing. Their legs become swollen and full of sores. Or there are those that hold their arms up for 12 years. Their arm may wither, may even get stuck in that position. I myself took a 13-year vow, and that disfigured my body severely. Still recovering from that. So there's few yogis that will go that extra mile to quicken those achievements. But again, I mean, Patanjali is not giving any judgment or anything like that. He's just saying that you will get back what you put in, basically. 1.23, Ishvara Pranidanadva, or ecstasy is gained through devotion to the Lord. So Patanjali is going to get into more details about this, but as I've spoken of before, I believe, yoga is based on the Samkhya philosophy, and the Samkhya philosophy is non-theistic, so not necessarily atheistic nor pro-theistic, just non-theistic. And so Patanjali kind of parts from there and basically sees the Lord as kind of like a means to an end. And he elaborates on that in 1.24, where he says, Klesha karma vipaka asayayir paramrishtaha purusha vishesha ishvaraha. Lord is a special self because he isn't touched by causes of affliction, action, and its fruition, and by the posit in the in-depth memory, or depth memory. So basically Patanjali in his Sanskrit way is kind of saying that if we would use Jungian terms, he's kind of like an archetype. Like in the Kabbalah, there's Adam Kadmon. So he's kind of like the perfect man God. The greatest achievement man could aspire to. The summum bonum. The self with a capital S. The furthest we can imagine perfection. So that's what Patanjali is saying in a nutshell. And he's saying, hey, there's different ways of going about this, and if you want to be devoted to the Lord, you go right ahead. There's different paths that lead to the same summit. 1.25, Tatra Viratishayam Sarvanya Viyam. In him, the Lord, the seed of omniscience is unsurpassed. So, again, this perfect man, this perfect being, the ultimate, greatest perfection that we can imagine as human beings, has all the qualities that the Lord would have, such as omniscience, omnipotence, omnipresence, all that other good stuff. So Patanjali is saying, yeah, he's all that. Aspire to him if you wish. 1.26 Bodhavasham api guruhu kalena anavachida. The Lord was also the mentor of the earlier yogins by virtue of his temporal continuity. Thus the story, or the myth, if you will, of Shiva coming down to Mount Kailash in the Himalayas and imparting wisdom to the Saptarishi, or the 7 Rishis, sages. There's a parallel tradition of that amongst the Greeks. So, yeah, there's also the notion of the avatars, deities coming down, and Jewish traditions, the Messiah, and in the Islamic traditions, the Mahdi. So there's different traditions. Then obviously in Buddhism you have Bodhisattva. They're all more or less different aspects of the same thing that Patanjali is talking about. 1.27 Tasya Vachakaha Pranavaha. His symbol is the Pranava, the symbol of Om. So Om is like this in Sanskrit. It's got that, and then the dot at the end. So this can represent 3 stages of consciousness, the 3 stages of matter, past, present, and future, the 3 dimensions, however you want to break it down. Thus it's a trinity, right? So the tradition, you could say, is implying a certain kind of trinity. Anyway, so right here is that little crescent shape there. That represents that which is beyond, right? And then you have the dot at the end, which is a singularity, or the star, that which we aspire to, the summum bonum. In this case, the Lord, right? So there you go, there's that. And the Om is also the primordial mantra, and all other mantras stem from that mantra. It's the Logos, the primary sound, like the background noise, radiation of the universe, kind of. So every other mantra stems from that Om, and every other mantra needs that Om to sustain itself, just like the whole universe needs that field in order to sustain itself. 1.28 Taj Japas Tad Artam Bhavana. The recitation of that symbol leads to contemplation of its meaning. So there you have a combination of the yoga of devotion and the yoga, or the technique of japa, or mantra recitation, which acquired a mala eventually, and it translated into the Middle East as the beads that they use to chant the names of God in Islam, and eventually it ended up in Europe in the form of the rosary. It goes way back, all the way back to yoga. And so that's the technique that is used and recommended. It's the basic technique I recommend, recommended by this man here, and as a basis to achieve that union with the Lord. And so it's safe, it's very safe and very stable. There's many techniques in yoga, but I would say that this is the safest and the most secure and solid. The japa recitation of many names of the Lord, or Om, or what have you, is a very solid foundation for growth in yoga. It can take a while, but it's safe and secure. It's the wide path that leads to that singularity, that star at the end of the journey. Anyway, I'm going to leave it here. Om Namo Narayana. Om Namah Shivaya. Shiva Om. Shiva Om. Jai Ma. Jai Mahakali. Om. Till next time.